So in this video, I'm going to talk about what might happen to UK house prices. As ever, if you find any of this useful, please make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe to our channel. Now, there is an article on the Money to the Masses website that links to this particular video, which we update every month. So click on the link in the notes below, and there is a link on screen as well if you want to go and see the latest information that we have updated. Now, in the UK, we are obsessed with house prices, and part of that is because it's intrinsically linked to our wealth, and also because a drop in the price of houses in your area might mean that you can actually afford to buy somewhere if you're a first-time buyer, or you might be able to move onto your new house. And also, if the price of your house is going up, it may mean that you can get a bit more extra money that you can then put towards your next purchase. Now, house prices are determined by a number of factors. It's not just one thing. There is the overall health of the UK economy. There is also interest rates. So the Bank of England sets the base rate, and that starts to influence mortgage rates, which in turn influence house prices. And there is just supply and demand. Now, local house prices will be determined by how desirable a particular location or property is, and how many similar properties there are available in your local area. So if for example, a new housing development is completed, this can reduce the value of properties nearby, as there is a greater amount of houses that are similar, so greater competition for buyers. Now, conversely, some properties will always command a premium because they are in sought after areas and there may be very limited housing stock. Now, I don't have a crystal ball of where house prices will go, but one thing you can do if you want to look at the future direction of property prices is perhaps look at where they've been headed in recent history. Now, there are a number of ways you can do this, and that is by looking at a series of respected sources of data relating to house prices, and they include monthly indices that provide information on house price changes over the previous month and over the preceding 12 months. I'm going to run through a host of them, and while I do this, they will appear on screen and you'll see the data as I describe how they're worked out. Now, the first one is the UK House Price Index, and this is the most accurate of the various house price indices, as it's calculated based on completed sales, both for cash sales and those with a mortgage. The wide-ranging data is sourced from HM Land Registry and other government sources. However, while it gives a very clear picture of what is going on in the housing market, there is a lag in the data being published. So, for example, you can see the latest data currently relates to August 2022, and I'm making this video in November. Now, it showed the average house price in the UK had risen by 0.9% in August, following a rise of 2% in the previous month, with the year-on-year growth being 13.6%. Next up is the Nationwide House Price Index, which is calculated based on its own data of mortgage approvals. Now, October 2022 saw the index dip by 0.9%, and that was the first fall in 15 months. Economists at Nationwide believe that market turmoil following the mini budget, as well as the subsequent U-turns, are likely to have contributed to that particular fall. Added to that, high borrowing costs are likely to have impacted affordability at a time when inflation is taking its toll on household finances. Next up is the Halifax House Price Index, which is calculated from its own database of approximately 300,000 mortgage approvals. Now, recent data shows average house prices fell by 0.1% in September 2022, followed by a further fall of 0.4% in October 2022. Next, we have the Rightmove House Price Index, and unlike the other indices that are based on mortgage approval data or completed sales, the Rightmove House Price Index looks at the average asking price for properties listed on the Rightmove portal. Now, this is a good reflection of sellers' confidence, but doesn't clearly demonstrate how many of those properties end up going under offer at a much lower price, or in fact, don't end up selling at all. Its most recent data shows an increase of 0.7% in September 2022, followed by a further increase of 0.9% in October 2022. So, after looking at those indices, where might house prices head next? Now, I've mentioned the recent mini budget, which caused shockwaves to go through the mortgage market, and it resulted in a rapid increase in mortgage interest rates. The Bank of England base rate sits at 3% at the moment after the latest increase in November. Now, the base rate is expected to rise above 5% in 2023, meaning the best fixed rate mortgage deals are likely to exceed 6% if those predictions on where the base rate is going to head actually come true. As well as tightening lending criteria, mortgage lenders are also stress testing mortgage applications, assuming higher rates of interest. Now, higher mortgage costs will likely mean that there will be fewer prospective purchasers able to secure a mortgage, which therefore puts downward pressure on the average house price in the UK. Now, if you go back to 1992, the average house price fell by 20% following a rapid rise in the Bank of England base rate. Now, some people will point towards the fact that interest rates back then were in double-digit territory, but the difference is back then the monthly mortgage payments were a lower proportion of people's monthly income than they are now. So realistically, around 6% today equates to about 10-11% back in 1992. So the crunch is still the same, and people are still feeling the pinch when it comes to mortgage rates and payments. So therefore, that will have a similar knock-on effect, presumably, to the house prices out there. So it would seem that it's almost unanimous when you look at the predictions of where house prices are going to go in, particularly 2023, that they are going to have some kind of pullback. But of course, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, this isn't a crystal ball, it's not a certainty, but it's just objective data looking at where house prices have been and how they're behaving now, but also where they were in the past and how they behaved in similar rate hiking cycles. Now, for you personally, you'll be more obsessed with your own house price, and that is going to be led also by what goes on in your local area as much as it does what's going on nationally. So if you want to get the feel for how much your house is worth, then of course go and look at the portals like Rightmove, like Zoopla, where you can get objective assessments of what your house might be worth. You can also look at the land registry where you can see data on recent sales, but also you can go and ask an estate agent to come and value your property if you really want to. If you do that, do make sure that you get at least 3 different estate agents round so you can at least average what they're telling you it's worth, because as we all know, the range can be quite extreme. So if you found this video useful in any way, please make sure you hit that like button, because we will update this commentary going forward, and also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.